I was chewing earlier and I was thinking, I was like, oh, this is my mic's right here. I was like, what am I doing?
I don't get that at all. People who listen to people chew, like that's my biggest pet peeve. Yeah.
Hey, I don't
That's
know.
like my personal hell is listening to people eating it. I'm sorry.
Personal hell. I don't know how people do it. I'm not even amazed. I'm just kind of disgusted. I have heard the ASMRs of like the dog chewing and like the cereal biting or like the cereal crackling. I kind of like it.
I'm more of a visual person, so like, I don't know.
But like the people
He wants to
chewing.
see people eating.
Yeah. I'll still be disgusted. I'll hear it in my head.
Okay, cool. How are y'all doing?
Doing pretty good. How about
Doing
yourself?
well.
Pretty well. Y'all comfortable?
Yeah, doing good.
Cool. Did y'all grab donut? Yeah, you grabbed a donut.
Yeah, I grabbed donuts and kolaches.
And you grabbed a kolache?
I grabbed kolache as well.
Oh, that sounds good. Oh,
A what?
Kolache.
kolache.
I don't even know what that is.
There's
It's pigs in a blanket.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Kolaches, I think the Czech version of what kolaches are, right?
You're telling me here.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I know someone out there. Some of my friends are gonna correct me whenever.
Well, this is great. This is the whole point of having comments down there, so that forever in this video, like all the topics we talk about, setting goals, like life challenges, overcoming things. Number one comment's going to be like the history of kolaches, and like where the word originated. Absolutely. Hey, everybody. My name is Brad. So a little bit about me. This is actually a particular topic that's very near and dear to my heart because I've actually done kind of new starts and fresh starts and had a lot of issues with goal setting throughout my life. And so for me right now, I work for Starbucks. And then I also am an accountant and I'm self-employed and I work mainly with like small kind of freight companies. So I do like the books for them. I help them with their expenses. I help them with tax preparation, help them with payroll, that kind of things. So I kind of split my life down those kind of two different paths right now. And so because of my experience being a little more aged than everyone else, Jets just called me back in. So Keaton, I'll kick it over to you.
My name is Keaton. Right now, I'm a full-time student. Earlier this year and for the last 2 years, I was an investment analyst. So kind of similar background. But really, I'm looking to get into something new. I'm looking to make a transition into data science, data analytics. So setting goals, having something to do every day, working on skills, building those skills, and really laying the foundation is where I'm at right now. So starting new I'm pretty much at the beginning, middle phase.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is a very relevant topic for me today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's intrigued me about y'all is y'all are both similar yet the same. Whenever I moved to this new apartment, I met Keaton at an event. And then when I first started at Starbucks, a couple months afterwards, I would meet Brad and we would all become to be really good friends.
Obviously, then so I actually have a kickoff point specifically for that one.
Okay, good.
And so so it's on like new beginnings, fresh starts, figuring things out.
Yeah.
And so actually, I think one of the things that I did was I did a lot of interviewing for different jobs, for different accounting positions, trying to figure out did I want to be a person who was going to work a 9 to 5 somewhere, or with accounting it's going to be the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.s. And I was trying to figure it out. So I did lots of interviews and they all kind of started to blur together. And so I was kind of trying to figure out what's a way I could distinguish these interviews from each other. Some of them were boring. Some of them just like, hey, I need a job. So I started asking the interviewers a specific question just to entertain myself. And so I said, we would go in at the end of the interview. They always ask, they say, hey, do you have any questions for me? And it's the formality kind of, oh, it was nice to meet you kind of thing. So what I decided I was going to ask him is I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, you're going back in time. You meet yourself coming into this job day one. You can give yourself one piece of advice. What would it be? And it completely threw them. Like they're prepared for so how would you like it working here kind of thing. They were never prepared for this question. And so a few of them gave me kind of the standard, I'd tell myself to persevere. There's, the kind of silly little answers. A couple of them asked for time, gave me some pretty decent answers, but there was one that stuck out to me and it was fantastic. And the person didn't have to wait at all. They said, I would absolutely tell myself it's okay to fail and don't be too hard on yourself. Whoa. And so I really liked that as a piece of advice because that was something specifically that I struggled with when I was sort of going through, what did I want to do with my life? When I was coming out of college, when I was in college, I switched my major a couple times. I was initially in computer science. I switched it over into finance. And each time I felt such a big disappointment that I was going from something that I thought that I liked, and then once I tried it, I was like, this was not it. Well, but I wasted all this time, I wasted this money. So what am I doing with my life? And so I was very hard on myself. But now being able to look back and say, hey, each of those things, like you were saying, they become an opportunity later in life. And so using those, then saying, hey, now I know the skills that I got from there are applicable in this area, or this helped shape me, or this helped give me the endurance or the drive or whatever to succeed. And so I just really liked that answer. It always kind of stuck with me. And I almost really wish I'd heard that answer earlier in my life, so that I wouldn't feel like each of those moments were failures and the big setbacks. Instead, they were like an obstacle that I overcame that I could then use and grow from. So.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I agree 100%. Me finding myself me finding the most in myself came from my biggest failures. So straight out of high school, my mother passed away. I didn't take the time to deal with it properly. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna grind through it. I'm gonna do my own thing. I need to be on my own. I went to community college, flunked out of that. I think I might have gone to like 10 classes total in a year. I feel like, so I flunked out of that, moved back home, got my shit together, went to community college in my hometown and made it to university, went to Oregon State, was up and down there. But that first year, my freshman year failing, kind of forced me to reset and like reevaluate, what do I want to do? Am I going to take the time, effort it takes to get what I want out of getting a degree? And yeah, that failure really made me just kind of look in the mirror and level up. And then when I got to the university, I was so up and down, like I was still inconsistent. I was still, you know, sometimes I get 4.0 or 3.5. Other semesters I get like a 0.6 GPA. And so, yeah, it was very inconsistent, very roller coaster. But, you know, as long as you're evaluating yourself and you're like being real with yourself, you grow from those situations. So I ended up finishing that degree eventually. I think I was a 5-year student. And, you know, being a mediocre student, you don't get the best jobs. You don't get the jobs you really want. So I worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car for a year as a management trainee. I was just so miserable. Like every day it was a task to do. Like you just wake up and you're like, oh my gosh. And then you gotta work at the airport and you work the worst shifts. You're like there at 4:00 in the morning to like 4 in the afternoon. And then you have a revolving schedule on top of that. So sometimes you're there like 10 p.m. to like 7 a.m. It was awful.
At the same airport or at different airports? Like, would you
Same airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if you were like flight attendant, like traveling to other airports.
No, yeah. You know how they have this like the rental car? Yeah.
Okay. Those are crazy times though, like 12-hour shifts.
Yeah, it was like 12-hour shifts, just the worst time, revolving schedule, nothing's consistent. I think that's been a thing for me. But anyway, like being that miserable, that was like another, I guess, failure in my mind. And that made me want to level up again. It's like, when you're not happy with something, change it.
Yeah.
Like do something to better yourself so that your outcomes are better.
Brett, can you repeat that quote that the guy that told you that it stuck out in those interviews?
Yes, absolutely. So what they said was, of course, now I'm going to butcher my own quote. Someone's going to go back in the comments and be like, he did the quote different each time. But in essence, the gist of it was, it's okay to fail. Don't be too hard on yourself. Like, don't beat yourself up for failure.
I like that a lot, actually, from both of you. I remember when I first started photography back in my sophomore year in college, I like officially said I'll do this part-time, like get some side money for like maybe get more equipment or just like use it for like Northgate or something because, you know, college. And I didn't see a lot of traction until I started posting on Instagram. And even then I expected, for some reason in my mind, that I was going to be this great and like amazing photographer that everyone would know in college, but that never really happened until after I graduated, until I decided to actually take it full time, which was insane to me because I continued to fail and change my style and continue to fail and change my style until I got somewhere where maybe people decided, oh, he's actually really good. I mean, the entire time you're faced with people saying, oh, you're doing great, you're doing okay, you're doing fine. And I mean, in our own heads, in our own situation, we're always like, I'm an imposter. There's no way I'm doing that good. Like, I know what I'm going through, I know what I'm feeling, and it does not feel great. When in your life has that moment actually appeared in your mind, and when have you actually recognized it? And did you do something about it?
I mean, I don't, I'm so like, I feel that right now. Like going through my degree, like a master's degree in economics, I'm like, I did pretty well these first 2 semesters, and I still feel like I don't know it well enough. Like,
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's a just perfectionist type of thing where it's like if I can't detail everything I've learned, I feel like I'm not there yet, or if it's because like I haven't graduated and I don't have the position I wanted and the end goal isn't there yet. But yeah, I think dealing with imposter syndrome and all that is just a evolving thing, and like people who have a growth mindset might always feel that to some extent.
So I think probably for me, it probably I would have to keep it back and kick it back to the college days when I was kind of first going in jobs. And for me, I went into these fields. I started doing what I was doing from the degree. And so like I had an internship as a programming internship. And I enjoyed it all right. But I felt like I was a scammer. Basically, I was like, I cannot believe you're paying me to like basically learn this on the job. You know, I guess, and that was maybe another misconception I had about college is I thought you go to college, you get all the training that you need, and then boom, you hit the job force, job market, and you're good to go. You know everything.
Yeah, you hit the ground running.
Exactly. And then every job I've had, I've Jon Snowed, I've known nothing going in. And so I just literally felt like a scam artist. I just said, you're paying me and I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I'm sitting here, like I'm reading, web tutorials on like how to do the thing that you're paying me to do. And you're paying me to read these web tutorials. And in fact, at one point I even did go to my boss and I just said, hey, I don't really know how to do this. The thing you're asking me, I don't code in this programming language. I don't really even understand it. And he was like, no, it's fine. You don't need us to buy you some books, just study or whatever. And that's kind of where I realized that I think it's universal. I don't think it's like, it's not just to us to say, hey, I think we've got a couple little things. I think for the most part, everybody, we're all just winging it. Everybody just wings it at some level. And once we become very proficient in that space, then it changes. And then we say, oh, okay, I've been doing this for all I know it. But I'm certain that there's got to be a 6-month, year, 2-year period in anything that we switch to where we just feel like we're faking. We're the imposter there, and that someone's going to figure out soon that I don't belong here.
Well,
what's that guy doing there?
I think a big part of that too is like social media and like just have like romanticizing about success. With a lot of people who you see who are successful, it looks like they just kind of like showed up there. Like they came in, they knew what they were doing, and it's like, you don't see the years, weeks, months, whatever process, like the process that they go through to gain those skills, gain that knowledge. Like you just think you're supposed to jump in, work hard, and it all comes to you. But there's just this up and down process of learning, failing, and eventually you end up putting it all together.
Yeah, there's people born in this world with like amazing talent and they have an eye or like a specific skill for something. But then there's those, I always refer to like pieces of art or like results of hard work that kind of appear for you for like a second. Like for photography, it's one image that took maybe 30 seconds to snap, at the very least 30 seconds. But behind that is years and years of looking at different photos, knowing the land, knowing the people, knowing how people behave, and knowing shapes and forms and everything that goes behind what a good photo looks like and what your eye perceives as a good photo. It's insane to think about. Sorry, I feel like that was like a stopping point right there.
No. I mean, if you want me to kick it back up again. I said I can kick it back up again.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at the outline too. Sorry.
Oh yeah, sure. No. Well, and so I feel like in a lot of these cases, I think most people do wing it. In fact, if you look at a lot of like the great masters' art, sort of to bring it back to sort of the art and photography again, maybe these guys did have a fantastic talent for it, guys, gals, whatever. But you look at early work from them, and the perspective is bad. The old sketchbooks, but that's not fun. It's like you said, it's not the romanticized version. We want to see these finished, beautiful pieces that took them hundreds of hours to make, and we're like, oh my gosh, just think I could paint like that, I could draw like that. So when we have the romanticized notion of success of saying, well, if I just take a couple of classes and start practicing on my own, not realizing that this is thousands of hours, this is tens of thousands of hours of work and hard work and effort to get to this point. And I think that probably then maybe even can tie on some of our later points is kind of the societal focus on success, not hitting failure, and just achieving your dreams and being amazing at them. When I think in reality, every time I've gone into any kind of job or any kind of field, what I've met is the opposite. I haven't been very good at it. I've had to work very hard at it, and while it can come naturally through hard work, it's not just like I walked in, I'm just like, bam, I'm the best at this. Nobody's better than me. So I don't know. I feel like maybe that could be an entire podcast just by itself, just sort of societal expectations and the Instagram effect of, oh, look at these people, they're so put together, when they, deleted 99% of the pictures that they took because they needed that one good one.
Yeah.
And continue to gain those followers, and then deleted some followers or unfollowed people to get that ratio up.
Exactly.
No, it's insane. In another podcast, I was talking to two business owners, and we ended up getting into a conversation about the ebb and flow of things and how their business started and they had this great boost, and then all of a sudden the ebb came in and they were having a rocky time. They had trivial pursuits, they had obstacles in their way, but then that led them into creating something different about their business that changed their perspective. In those shifting moments, have y'all changed your perspective or done something different that has kind of brought you up or brought you to a different place?
Yeah, I think in my the transition from my first to my second undergrad, just having a clear goal of what I wanted to gain, I just started putting in more work. Like, I didn't want to be an average student. I didn't want an average job. I didn't want to, because I already did that. I knew what it was like. Wasn't for me. So yeah, just like putting in that extra work, dedicating myself. Really, like, I was watching a video about Michael Jordan, or it was Joe Rogan talking about Michael Jordan, how he's like kind of insane, like he's mentally ill, like on a certain level. And I think you have to like be that a little bit to like really obsess over the things you want and like reach that level of success, whatever that is to you.
Well, I think probably for me, those ebb and flow moments have, kind of like what Keaton said, those have been the watershed moments that have changed my life. It's not, in fact, if I really think of all of the successes that I've had, those really tend to fade. I understand that that's like a survival thing. If you make it across the street just fine, it doesn't matter. You don't need to remember that one. If you walk across, you get attacked by a wild animal, you need to remember, because the next time you're going to look.
That's a great point.
But I feel like it's that way in my life too, in that all of the bad things that have happened to me, sure, I remember those and I always say, oh, that was that failure. But because I remember it and I don't want it to happen again, I don't want to be, an average student, because I did the same thing. I went into college and just said, oh, I don't really, I've always been good at getting grades. It's going to be easy. And it wasn't easy. And the same sort of thing in life when I say, hey, this is the career that I want. This is the path I want to pursue with my life. Yeah. And every time when I've hit those setbacks and said, I have to change something up or this is going to go bad, those have been, I think, those are the moments when I get the growth. Those are the moments when I experience, I get the goals. I see, how do I really want to focus my life kind of from this point forward. So for me, I think those moments of the ebb and flow, definitely in the ebb, I think that's probably the most valuable point for businesses, for our lives, because those are the ones where we see, I don't want this to be like this anymore. I need to change something.
Yeah, dude, that's a great point. Like, just how like that negative situation just kind of like leaves a scar, and like you're all like you never want to like go through that process again. So like it's almost like it creates like a floor, like the floor keeps rising the more you get scarred, and then like you never want to go back down a level.
I like that. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that scar's oof. Now, I've been listening to some like motivational talks. I've been trying to think of something new, or like how did someone get to this new place in their life to where they shifted perspectives and they continue to adapt. And I don't know if it was Joe Rogan. I think it was Will Smith who said that those successful people have some sort of like delusional element where when they fail, they know that they have to get back up, but they're going to get back up harder and they're going to continue to go because they're dead set on being this type of success. They're dead set on being a basketball player, or they're dead set on being the best photographer or something like that. And they will continue until they don't fail. Now, have y'all kind of found a goal that you want to do that's like, I need to succeed in this because this is where I want to be in life, or this is what I want to do within all of this? Within all of your careers, at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's a main goal. I feel like my big picture goals are always kind of evolving. I think the smaller goals are what I am most like driven towards, those steps, and eventually those lead me to wherever I want to go. So like if you would have asked me 6 years ago, would I be working on my master's in Texas? No. If you asked me 10 years ago, would I even gone to college? Maybe not. Like, I don't know. I feel like if I take things maybe like year by year, month by month, day by day, and I set a goal for myself for that day, that month, that year, it'll lead me to accomplish small things that end up being large things without having to commit to one path that I think, maybe it's right for me at a certain point in time, and then things start to divert and I feel more passionate about going left instead of right, or up instead of down. So
Right.
I try to focus more on smaller goals and obsess over those instead of like, oh, I want to be like CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know what it even entails. Like, I'll take the steps to figure it out if life leads me that way, but.
Right. So what's your small goal right now then?
My small goal, so I have a few. Number one is finish my degree. I guess that's not necessarily a small goal, but I guess more shorter term.
Yeah.
Finish my degree. I have a couple independent projects I'm starting to work on, so I'm going through a couple certificates, so building my skills in Python, R, SQL, Tableau, so data visualizations and programming languages. And then using those certificates, skills, and my degree to land a position by the end of the year. So, that's my 2022 end of the year goal.
Wait, are the projects the like data analyst projects?
Yeah. So I'm trying to be well-rounded. So I'm doing something like healthcare, finance,
Right.
Just like personal interest, data analysis, that type of
Entertainment?
stuff.
Media?
I want to do like, I think of
Data entry entertainment.
I want
Can I get a spreadsheet?
no spreadsheets, no spreadsheets.
Oh no.
No spreadsheets. I want to do something like, I don't know. I'm a big movie person, and I watch a lot of YouTube. Like I just random videos on YouTube. And what I notice is that these spaces are getting extremely diluted with like the same thing over and over again. Like every action hero movie is the same. I get the same things on YouTube. I get the same things on Instagram, and I'm like, where's the diversity? So I want to look at how oversaturation of certain genres in movies, of recommendations on YouTube and Instagram affect viewership, profits, screen time, that type of stuff, and exposure to
Like creators,
yeah.
content creators, and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
There's always like different like genres for that stuff too. Like the different TikToks that are around. Like there's like frog talk. Sorry, I burped and I said frog talk. It's weird. There's like
You should have just riveted. That's what it should have been.
there's like pod talk, like where it's just like podcast TikToks. There's like fashion talk, like get ready with me talk. Like there's a bunch of different TikTok genres out there that are specified for people based on the algorithm.
Right.
And I'm assuming that's what happens with like YouTube a lot too. Now,
Yeah,
now with YouTube, right? That's crazy.
It's all an algorithm, which is cool that they can like automate that, but at the same time the computer is just like, oh, they click like I could watch a sports highlight on the Raiders, and then it's gonna give me like 10 more highlights of the Raiders. Like I just watched this, like I want something different. And I think that's why Joe Rogan is such a big, like, he's such a big personality, because he could talk about anything. Like he could talk about like aliens to like construction to politics to literally anything in the world, and he's very well versed in just about every topic. And so I think that diversity just, obviously, I mean, it makes sense that it would bring more people in.
Interesting. Yeah, so his reach is so far like that.
Yeah.
Because of all the variety. Interesting. Sorry, not to get distracted by that. But do you have a delusional goal that you're sort of set on right now?
Honestly, I think for me, it really is trying to expand my own private like accounting business. And obviously that becomes more and more difficult because as I am sort of working 2 jobs right now, it becomes harder and harder to then say, oh, I'm going to spend all the more. I mean, you're well aware of this. That was sort of the same thing. You know, we worked together and you just said, hey, I really need to take this full time.
Yeah.
So for me, I think my goal is eventually moving myself to that point where I can become a little more self-sufficient with that.
Nice.
But I do think that sort of, I guess to sort of tie it back into Keaton's point, because I'm really very interested in that. I think that what you're talking about sort of exposes not necessarily a flaw, but it's like you said, all action movies are the same. You know, the way that algorithms sort what people want to watch and what kind of videos to recommend to them. But these are written for the lowest common denominator. They're not looking for the free thinkers. They're looking for maximum ad revenue. They're looking for maximum targeted videos. And it makes me a little bit sad when I look at stuff, because I'll go back and I'll watch older movies. And so like, have you guys seen The Fifth Element? It's the one that's got Bruce Willis in it.
Yeah. Chris Tucker.
Yeah, and Chris Tucker. Yeah, it is a campy sci-fi movie. It is super goofy. Like there's got like literally like foam outfits and stuff, but it's a really fun movie. It really is.
So good.
I love that movie. But I realize now there's no way a studio would take a chance on a movie like that. There's just no chance. Someone pitches them an idea and it's like, okay, yeah, there's like these like 5 stones and like, you know, like there's these ancient guardians of them and like, you know, like this old retired like army guy's got to go. Like the studio would be like, okay, yeah, we got you. Farewell, we're not doing that.
That's Avengers right there.
Huh?
That's Avengers right there.
That is Avengers. Yeah, okay, there you go. Okay, never mind. You're right. They would make it. Let's put Thor in it. But I think that's sort of the problem, is that before, when so many of these fields weren't filled in, you know, they just basically said, hey, you know, think I could get some money and maybe, you know, make a movie? And people were like, yeah, sure, let's go for it. You know, when it was YouTube, it was just like, hey, I'm going to film myself in the backyard slicing watermelons with a katana. Do you think anybody would watch that? And people were like, wow, this is so new. This is so novel. But now we live in an age of data and metrics and information. Obviously, you know this, you know, being data science. I think that there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad in this field without differing too much from goals. But I think maybe then a goal would be sorting and finding people again in this. Because I think we've become too focused on saying we only are going to make this movie because it makes $800 billion, or that we only think that this is the trend that this is going. This would not be a successful movie. And I understand that the information is useful. I mean, even at Starbucks, the same kind of thing. We need to reach certain metrics, certain ratings. And I feel like the experiences of customers there, the experiences of moviegoers, the experience of people on Instagram, it's all getting funneled into these certain realms because that's the thing the algorithm says maximizes profit.
Yeah. And yeah, to build off that, that was a great point. With today, and tying this back to goals, is that like, instead of taking a chance, like you said, and like, just maybe even just allowing creativity, people aren't thinking of like their passion. It's everything is goal driven. It's profit driven. That's the goal. And I think that can be the issue with goals, is that you become so tunnel vision that you don't, it's about, is it worth it money wise, instead of just taking a chance on something new, instead of something formulaic, and just taking a chance and seeing how it goes. Like, that goal can also cloud your vision if it's not necessarily not aligned, but if it's not, I don't know how to put this.
I think align's probably pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
But I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's why it's important, like you said, to have the smaller goals in life, to have that, I mean, have them as fluid. Obviously, goals are very important. I mean, like, I even looked up a couple of papers on, like, what's the importance of goal setting and for achieving progress. And it really does show that setting a goal in our life, whether it's financial, whether it's for a career, it's very important. And really, when people don't set goals, where they just say, "Oh, I'd like to get a promotion at work," there's nothing to achieve. They don't do anything. But when they say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to work hard. I'm going to show up on these certain days." When they set goals, that's when they achieve results. But I think it's very important to not just confuse that with, "Oh, I set a goal," and like Will Smith, like Michael Jordan, I just say, "I'm going to pursue this fanatically." It's more important to keep them fluid. And maybe they had those failures and they'd had the time in their life where they kind of had refined those down. But I think starting with small goals, and like you said, having those kind of form that branching path of, this is my short term, this is my midterm, and that, yeah, it might be cool to be a Fortune 500, but I'm not going to make that my one big goal. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to work on my degree. I'm going to work on all this other stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think I have a clearer way of what I was trying to say, is that you can get lost in your goals. I haven't seen the movie Whiplash, but I know it's about, have you seen the movie? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Whiplash, like, he wants to be the best drummer ever. Like, he gets completely lost in that goal. And it's not just about achieving that. It's about how you achieve that. And you're like remaining yourself through that process. You keep selling your soul, your happiness, your dignity, whatever, to be the best at anything. Like, those people are still human at the end. Like, they can still be miserable people and have everything they thought they wanted. So I think just remaining yourself through that process is extremely important.
I mean, I guess that kind of falls to then maybe kind of even like work life, or just kind of balance in your life.
Right.
Because I mean, I've had plenty of friends that have pursued careers because they knew it was high dollar. They said, hey, I can make $150,000 a year. I can make $200,000 a year, like super fast. And, to them, they said, hey, I didn't have this stuff growing up. I want fast cars. I want nice houses. And then they get it. And everyone's like, all my friends were so jealous. We're all like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's living in this house. He's got this. Yeah, it must be awesome. And they're miserable. They're absolutely miserable. And they're just like, man, I wish I could. It sounds like you guys have so much fun at work. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it sucks at work too, But they're like, yeah, I know. But it would be nice to just, have fun, just have people to joke with at work. And I'm just like, oh, wow, that sounds like you didn't really get what you wanted. And so I think maybe then having not just career goals, but having like personal goals, but like you said, for working on yourself, that kind of tie that back from earlier. I think that's very important. I think that's something that I personally tend to neglect a lot. I tend to focus a lot of my goals on career, where I want to move my life, but not having personal goals like, hey, am I okay? Or is this goal affecting my own personal health? That maybe it's a good goal for me of saying, hey, I want to grow this business. But if I start working, 80, 120 hours a week, and I'm working another job, and I don't have any social life, my own health declines, was that really a good goal, even if my business succeeded? So.
Yeah, it's something tricky to question. I feel bad when I talk about this, because I never actually think about that stuff. It's very ingrained in the way I grew up that my parents always put morality before business. My dad owned his own business. He was a private contractor. My mom graduated with a finance degree in the Philippines, and then came to the U.S. and then became an RN because she wanted to, and because she wanted the free healthcare. But for the most part,
it's smart. Yeah.
I mean, it was nice. But for the most part, they weren't so focused on making money. And their number one goal, their simple goal, was to make sure that me and my brother went to college. That was it. The most basic goal ever. It had a lot of complications, surely, but both my brother and I didn't have to worry about how much we were going to make. even though we weren't like in the best like tax bracket, their expectations weren't so high for us to continue to try and jump and reach. We always just kept climbing because they always supported us from the bottom. It was crazy to me to think that. And when I look back on it now, my dad was probably the happiest motherfucker in the world because he saw that I was an Aggie and he was just like, he's in college now, great. But then the years that I weren't, sorry, my vocabulary, the years that I was not at home, I don't know if he found anything to do with his life sometimes. Because he was just so content and happy that he started farming. He just made a little garden in the backyard, took care of the dog, and then he was like, I'm going to go back to the Philippines and build a vacation house for us. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, I'm so happy for you.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah,
That sounds amazing.
He had diabetes and he died in 2019.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
but
that.
he was still one of the happiest people that I've ever seen, and he didn't have like a thriving private contracting business. You can set small goals and continue to live, I guess, the happiest person in the world, or the happiest to you at least, and still feel successful. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to. Is that success isn't measured by how well you do in your finances or business. Maybe it's your own goals, I guess. I don't know. What do y'all think?
100% agree. We live in like the ultimate capitalist society.
Yeah.
So goals.
USA.
So goals are like generally defined as monetary success, fame, attention, that type of stuff. We're just like one big media outlet for like celebrities and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, success is very subjective, and your goals don't have to be like work oriented, monetary oriented. You have family goals. You can have like relationship goals. You can have personal goals. Whatever defines one person's happiness, like that's up to them.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, I think even, I like that you brought up things like relationship goals. Because I personally went through a lot of failed relationships, and it was my fault.
I'm sorry.
If
you're listening.
Me too. Yeah, I apologize. But hey, you know what? Years later, I finally figured out what was wrong. But I do think that. But that's it. Is that I didn't set goals for myself. I just basically said, I'm just going to go into this. It's going to be a relationship, and at the end, it's happily ever after, and it's going to work out. And so I didn't put any work in it. I didn't put and say, hey, what do I want going forward with this relationship? What's the effort even I have to put in to keep it moving in a positive direction? I never set those. And I ruined a bunch of relationships all in a row until I really kind of finally got it sorted. But I think it's, like you said, it's very important to then not just focus on career. And in fact, sort of per your point as well, I think those are some of the happiest people, not the ones that are most successful. They just say, hey, you know what? I got a great family, and you know what? I work an okay job, and I come home and I see my family, and it's awesome. Life is great. And then I have all my friends that are like, oh no, I'm single and I'm making a ton of money, and they're miserable. They absolutely are. And so I really think in that situation, I don't want to be like the person that's miserable. I want to say, hey, what's this person? What did they do? What family goals, what relationship goals, what life goals do they set for themselves that make them happy instead of just successful?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's really good. Sorry. I'm just trying to.
What are those things for you? Like those goals, or like.
Yeah, I guess we've just been talking about us this entire time.
Yeah. What are those goals that you're trying to achieve?
Hey, this is my podcast. Okay,
Yeah, no insider knowledge.
It's been a goal for a really long time. Whenever I think it was around that time I tore my ACL when I was going to college. I tore my ACL at the start of my senior year in high school, and I realized that I could work so hard at something for so long, And I think most of the people who know me in my soccer team too know that I would stay after school to just like practice by myself, practice my shot, my touch, see if I can like get a little bit better, even if I didn't have like a private trainer or anything. Not that I could afford one by myself. But then after that, I would go and work at Michael's and do an art store. And I hated that job, but it got me money and it got me like new cleats. It got me a new ball. It got me a ukulele too. And I realized I could
That's
work.
the most important part, the ukulele.
Oh yeah. I realized I could work so hard and then have it all stripped away within just a flash of a second of like anybody can take it away. And I didn't realize that could happen.
Yeah.
And so I told myself, okay, what can I do if I'm injured that would help me or help the team at least? And I could, at the very least, I could sit on the sidelines. I could attend both varsity games, bring snacks, just hang out and just bring up the morale if people were sad or something, or just like joke around. And at that point, I was having the time of my life because I wasn't having to work hard, but also I was having really fun or having a lot of fun. And I was just with my friends most of the time. And that goal became apparent to me right at that moment, right around my first game that I came back and like sat on the bench. I was like, I need to do this for the rest of my life. I don't need to sit on the sidelines, but if I can somehow gain monetary value and continue to keep the people I love in like a comfortable setting while also just being myself, then that is the number one goal I need to strive to be. And so, I mean, my best friend came over this past weekend. Keaton knows. Yeah. And he asked me, "What are you gonna do if you win the $1 billion lottery?" And I said, "At first, I'm gonna buy a house in a neighborhood for all of us so that we can hang out, and then I'm gonna buy my mom a house and my brother a house." And that was it. I couldn't think of anything else that I would do with that money. I'm like, okay, I'm set for life if I know they're all comfortable and living well. So I guess I'm trying to strive to get to that point in my life and see how far I can go. But I don't care about money. I don't have any stake or value in capitalism. I just want everyone to be safe and I can hang out with them.
If only you could purchase safety with money.
Are you pitching an idea? Just kidding.
Yeah, no, you can pay me. It's fine. Yeah.
No, but that's something new that happened in my life that I was like, I need to do that, and I just don't know how I'm going to get to it yet. But with that, I started trying to find help, and all of a sudden, the help would come to me later in the form of architecture, professors, a camp that nurtured my photography, all that stuff. So I guess a couple last bits. I'm going to refer to some of these famous actors and famed people because they would induce speeches for motivation or for confidence or something like that, and I would look them up on YouTube. But Chris Rock mentioned a story about him having a flat tire on the side of the road, and then him trying to wave people down, saying, "Hey, I need help," but no one would stop to help him. Like, why would you not do that? He has a flat tire. It wasn't until he started pushing the car himself that people actually stopped and decided that, oh, we need to help this guy push his car to the next gas station. The point is, he emphasizes that people want to help people who are helping themselves. So I guess, was there a moment in your life where you realized that, or where you recognized people are coming to help me because I'm already doing the thing that I'm doing, or that I'm already trying to pursue my goal and they just want to help me pursue my goal?
It's just your own key.
Yeah.
So actually, I definitely do have one of those moments, and it's kind of when. So I mean, I struggled through a lot of different careers. I went into computer science. I went into medicine.
Right.
I've been in finance. Customer service. Now what just all of these other ones, trying to figure out kind of what did I want. And I really, I've been in the military for a while, and so. For me, I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. Because every time I try something, I just said, I kind of hate this. I don't like this. Or I really like this, but I didn't like the application. Whereas I really enjoyed medicine. But I really wasn't sure that I wanted to go to be a doctor, to be a nurse. But I was just like, how do I practically use this? Otherwise, it's just kind of useful, but useless for me knowledge.
Right.
And So I kind of ended up actually kind of pulling my life apart, trying to just restart it just over and over again and not really sure what was going on. And I was very depressed at the time. I was really struggling. I didn't have personal health goals. And so I just kind of felt like my life was tanking. And so I finally just reached out and I just said, hey, you know, I need some help. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what kind of things I want. I don't have goals. I'm stuck. I'm just spinning my wheels here. And I was like, my cynical self was like, no one's going to help me. You know, everyone's just going to be like, well, you dug this hole, so guess you better try hard to get out of it. And instead, that was like in your story, that's when all the help showed up. That's when everybody said, hey, you know what? We can help you out if you need a place to stay, if you need career advice, if you need some mentoring. And so like people just popped out of the woodwork with all this super useful help, really helped me get back on my feet. And so I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, I guess there's that old, Tonstoffel, there's no such thing as a free lunch. But like, say you're like at the gym and you see somebody like climbing the rock wall and you see that they're really struggling. Like they're going for that top though, but they're just, their fingers are slipping. They keep falling. They're getting frustrated.
Their grip's not there.
Exactly.
No chalk or whatever.
You know what? And hey, you know what? That person made at the top, I would feel awesome if I helped them out. That'd be so cool that we both get to the top together. And you get on there and you climb with them and you're like, hey man, come on, I got you. But if you see that person that's standing at the bottom and they just say, bro, I really want to get to the top. And you're like, yeah, let's do this. And they're like, yeah, cool. If you could just tie me onto you and just like go for the top. Let's do this. You're like, I'm not going to do that. And there's no satisfaction of like, I'm not impressed that I managed to carry 2 people to the top of that. Like that's not a personal goal of mine.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it is. I think it's very rewarding to be able to help someone and know that it mattered. Not just because they said, oh man, I really appreciate that you helped me change that tire. I really appreciate that you helped me climb that rock wall. It's that your assistance meant something to that person. And so it's that you didn't do it for them, you helped them. And I think those are the things in life I remember was those moments when I said, I can't do this, or when I was struggling and someone said, hey, we got this, we'll do this together. And I really appreciate that. So I think there's just kind of a part of human nature that, arm in arm with somebody carrying you over the finish line. I think that's rewarding both for the person that needed the help and for the person doing the helping versus doing something for someone, just saying, hey, I'm providing you this service, or I'm just going to give you all this money, or I'm just going to do the job for you, or whatever. That there's no satisfaction for the person that did it because they just did a thing. And there's no satisfaction for the person that got it because there was no effort put in. And so I think that's kind of maybe the long sort of winded version of the Chris Rock story was
right
when they just like, hey, can you come change my tire for me? Nobody wants to do it. But when someone says, man, that dude needs some help.
Yeah.
Like that guy needs some help.
That guy's pushing his car. We need to go help him out.
Yeah, 100% agree with everything you just said. I think that was the big point at the end that you made. For me anyway, is that like, you want to see somebody putting in that effort and like, you never want to feel like you're doing somebody's work for them. Right. Otherwise, it's like you have a group project and you like have 5 people and you're doing all the work. It's like, that's kind of what it feels like.
That's just group projects.
That's work too, though. That's true. That's a lot of life. So yeah, I think that's the big part for me. And like, when you like, even if somebody's like pushing their car, they're like running through the mud, going nowhere. Like you see somebody putting in that work, like you can see their heart in it. You can see that passion. And it's like, when you see or you feel that type of energy from somebody, it's like a magnet. And it's like, even if they're not going somewhere, you can like, that drive to go somewhere is always going to be there. And it's like, you want to be a part of that, help them push through that and like eventually see their success, because most likely you can relate to that at some point in your life too.
There's sort of an energy boost sometimes too, or something refreshing.
Yeah.
It's like when I see a new photographer pick up a camera, I'm always like, that kind of reminds me of who I was back then, because I was in your shoes and now I want to help you get past the obstacles that I went through.
Right.
Because I mean, I wish there was someone for me, that helped me back then. Which brings me to my next point. Whenever you were in that tough spot, that shift in your life, when you were coming up on something new or you were starting something new, what is the one thing you wish you would have heard from somebody?
Honestly, the thing I'm going to bring it back to is the same thing that I kind of heard from the recruiter is it's okay to fail. And I think this is kind of even to draw back again to kind of our points on social media and things like that. I think we live in a very failure averse society. We don't want to fail. Being bad at something, not making it is not okay. Every single movie with an inspirational message is, look, he persevered, he overcame. That thing that people said was impossible, he did it. But reality is very different than that. In reality, we fail a lot. There's a thing that we're not good at, or there's something that, I just say, I can't do this, or I don't want to do this. And why would I put this effort in and persevere and overcome this? I'm not going to gain any kind of benefit from doing this. I'm just going to make myself miserable, and I'm not going to be happy I achieved this goal. But for me, I'd enjoyed a lot of success early at life. I was able to apply myself and get good grades when I did apply myself. And so, but it was hitting those points of when I started to get bad grades, when I started to fail, I didn't know what to do because failing was not okay. I had to succeed.
Right.
And so I think really at that moment when I was really struggling, when I couldn't figure out, do I just full commit to this degree? Do I full commit to this change in my life and my career? I wish I could have just gone back, my recruiting question. I wish I could have gone back and just said, it's okay to fail. You know what? If you messed up, if this is not it, pick yourself up, move on. That's okay. Like, it doesn't matter. Because every time, I felt like I just got beat down by each one of those things. I was like, I can't do this. I guess I got to go pick something else, but I just can't do this, or I'm just not good enough to get this. So I think telling myself that failure is okay. I can set a goal and I don't reach that goal. And as long as I understand that I'm saying, you know what, I choose not to reach this goal. And I think that that's the smartest choice for me. I think that for me, being okay with failure was something I probably even still struggle with. But I mean, it took me a long time to really work on that one.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think mine would be it's okay to take your time. I feel like I'm an extremely competitive person. So, and I think I can be envious at times too. So I can see somebody on Instagram with something, I'm like, damn, I want that. Or damn, I wish I was there right now doing X, Y, Z. So I feel this pressure to just get everything instantly. And I think that's something that I've worked on since the summer. Is just taking things incrementally. And I'm one of those people who I feel like my personality kind of transcends through different areas of my life. So who I am at home is who I am when I'm at the gym, is who I am at work, and who I am at school. I can't really compartmentalize myself that well in different areas. So I try to treat everything the same. So my workouts, I'm trying to build up to running at a certain speed or a certain distance. And instead of just jumping in and okay, I'm gonna run 6 miles every day at 7 minutes per mile, I'm okay, slow down. Start with a very realistic goal and build on top of that each month and maybe take it one step at a time instead of rushing to get where you want to go.
Nice. Well, cool. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this was awesome.
It was really, really interesting to hear all y'all's wisdom. Join us back for Jet 4 next week. This has been Brad and Keaton. You'll see them on TikTok or Instagram. I don't know. Do you guys have any plugins or anything you want to say? No? Cool. We got Shipley's and I think one kolache left. So feel free to...
I'm good.